What's up, everybody? Hope you guys are staying safe out there. As always, good afternoon from Nashville, Tennessee. It is a hot summer day here and back in town. Time to do some Bitcoin analysis. Look at the Rev and Ribbons, which are the newest indicator I am releasing here in the next couple months. Already been in beta testing. I think I finished all the coding. I'm just kind of now looking for any last updates and tweaks before I finally release it here in the next few weeks to a month at the most. But let's look at a few different time frames here and kind of just do a little bit of analysis. There's a lot of, I guess, the hype in general has wore out of the market, and there is just some passivity going on, sadness, whatever. There's a lot of negativity in the market these days, and yeah, just gonna kind of see what this indicator is projecting and kind of plan for the future and look at a few strategies as well. So let's look at the daily time frame. We've been kind of watching this for the last few streams here, and generally been pretty well getting the general direction. And you can see there was a bias here to come down into this range right here that got hit. Then it bounced back up, and there's been a bias, a bit more of an upward bias here for the last day or so. Does not mean that it necessarily will bounce immediately from here. It could even come down to, if you're going to hit the lower boundary, like 109. I don't know that it'll necessarily get that far, but who knows? And then once it comes down and closes, there may be an update in this, projected price action. But as of now, the price action is pointed upwards. You got the midline here at around 117K. Generally respects the midline okay. You can see here in the past it'll bounce off of it, sometimes wick below it, and kind of ride it around for a while, and then once it breaks to one side or the other, it's generally a general bias. So over here, it broke it to the upside, retested it, bias to the upside, basically did a little test of this second band here. Now it's a bias towards the downside, broke it. Has not tested this lower band, so I do expect there to be a little bit of a closer test to this band, possibly, if we are if price action is anything like the past month or so here. But yeah, so generally have maybe a little bit of a down bias, but ranging, and we have been looking at a range for ever since we hit the upward bound here. We were looking at it to come back and range down in the 117 to 113 area, and looks like it has been doing that a bit. So yeah, I don't expect price action to necessarily get too exciting from here. We'll see what happens. If it does, if it does reclaim that mid band, we got a price target of around 125K as of right now, and if this indicator will slowly adjust. But yeah, that's kind of the general short-term price action. We can look at a few different time frames, go even lower on the 4-hour time frame and see what's going on. This indicator does take a while to load. It's processing a lot of information. So let's see what's going on here at the 4-hour. It looks like we've hit our support one band right there. And price target, though, does say it could come a little bit lower to 111K. And as of recent, it has been doing a pretty good job of hitting this lower band, or the second band, I guess. You can see here it hit it, bounce back up to the midline, hit it again, bounce up to the midline, and maybe we'll kind of find our support here off of this support one band. But if not, looking at coming down. And then long-term price action is look at maybe bouncing up to 115K. So this is, again, 4-hour time frame. We can look at it generally. Respects the bands pretty well. Sometimes we'll do a little bit of a fake breakout here. There are plenty of settings in the indicator itself if you want to dial in a little bit more for the time frame that you're on. And it's never going to be perfect, right? There's no indicator that's perfect out there and gets everything right, but this one does a lot of time find the highs and lows pretty well, and the reversal areas. The second band oftentimes is a support or resistance band. Where once it hits it, price will generally kind of go the other direction. Even if it's here, it hits it, kind of, did a little bounce, kind of pulled back a bit, and then bounced up to that midline again. So oftentimes that it's the midline, at least the midline, and this second support or second resistance area that we're looking at. So this is kind of a short-term price action right here, maybe going to 111K, but then looking at bouncing up to 115K. And let's look at the 12-hour. It might show us a little bit of more information. Then we'll go on to really high-term time frames and look at just long-term projections. All right, so yeah, the 12-hour right here. Again, these are just the base settings with no, other settings modified or anything like that. Right now, it hit our target here, kind of came up, but barely, just came up to the middle of that. So you can see this grayed out box that just shows where the previous target was. It does not always mean it's going to hit the full extent of that target. It just means you're looking for that as a general bias. So once it touched down here, I was looking for up, got up. Now it's looking for downside. And then long-term, again, range. So we're kind of just, all of this is showing us that the long term right now looks like it's going to be a bit more of a range play. Again, 110, I guess, 0.5 is the low right here. So, maybe 111, 110K. Kind of depends on how far it breaks down. And then I want to look at the monthly time frame. This one I have adjusted a little bit. The settings of the band themselves. Let's look at the band settings, see what I've adjusted them to. I'm using the adaptive confluence bands, so some of these titles may change, but the confluence bands are basically the ribbons. I call this ribbon 3, ribbon 2, ribbon 1 for resistance, and then ribbon 1, ribbon 2, and ribbon 3 for support. So this is using adaptive kind of machine learning for the monthly time frame. The monthly time frame does not have a whole lot of history, and the previous history is pretty crazy to the upside. You can see a lot of times it would just massively have huge run-ups and even run outside of the bands. So you can see from currently recent price action history, this is nothing like the bull run of the past few cycles here, where the bull runs of the past few cycles massively broke outside the bands themselves. And currently, so you can see, actually before we look at the current, we're going to look at the past here. Back in 2021, the first high hit a major high out here outside of the range of the bands, pulled back down to the midline, so that was a nice support area, went up and barely closed above the second ribbon right there for resistance, and then closed the next month, actually opened below it, and it pulled all the way down to the second support ribbon right here. Okay, so when I'm thinking about kind of general price action for this, and you can see the last bull run did a bit of the same thing. Once it started pulling back, it went all the way down to this second support ribbon. So that second support ribbon does seem to be where bull runs or a bear markets end, and oftentimes bull markets end, at least in the past, by massively shooting outside of the support, the resistance band. Now, is that going to be the case? I don't think so anymore. I think price action has been a lot more subtle the last this last cycle, and if it was to break outside the band, that would mean some major price action coming very fast, because even if price action moves up here, it's going to be pushing the bands up. So that would be probably a price target of like in the 200K area if it was going to be anything like what happens here. We'll see. We are getting a long-term projection of at least 148K, and over the next few months that will probably keep rising. But currently, the price action is showing the current target here as just a range play between 100K, just about 100K to the downside, and 120K to the upside. So this range right here is probably going to be respected, at least for the near term. We'll see. We'll see if we get a pull down all the way to that support band. But that that resistance band acting as support. That first resistance band has offered very nice support here over the past few months here, and I guess even really year since August of 24. That was the support area. Excuse me. Hit the support, wicked below it, but never closed below it, and then had a nice bounce to the upward band. So maybe we get something like that again, where we maybe even wick below it into the lower 90s, mid 90s, or just kind of bounce off of here as support. And then if we find the upper band again, that's 148K right now on the monthly. If the bear market hits right now, or if the bull market, say worst case scenario, let's look at worst case scenario. Say this is kind of the end. So you can see over here the last bull market ended by, kind of hitting this resistance band here and then pulling back down all the way to the support band. Now it took about, let's look at since it hit it, it took about 8 bars. Okay, it took about 8 bars to hit that support band right there. Now what happens if, like I was saying, if this is the worst case scenario, and say we're going to go 8 bars from here, it hit this band, and if we have a pullback, and again, I do think that was about the low. It wasn't quite the low. It did go a little bit lower, but it never really went below that support band. And for all intents and purposes, that was a pretty great spot to buy at, about 18.9K, 19K. Not the worst place. Obviously, it went down to about 16K, but would have been a great buy. So say this is the worst case scenario, bear market immediately right now. Let's kind of project where this could be. I'm going to kind of put a drawing tool here and just, who knows, this is just a very, say it was going at about the same angle it has been going at now. And now let's go 8 bars from this bar right here. So say, that was kind of where it ended. That would be of March of 26, and the low would be around 60K. All right, so that's the worst case scenario. Looks like we're, going to 60K at the lowest. Now, I don't expect this actually to be the end of it. I do think we'll probably have some more price action here in the future that pushes to the upside. Say it keeps pushing to the upside, we'll kind of just do a general, something like that is going on here. And say, let's look at December or November. Let's see. If November, December hits, the price high would be 130. If we went to, and again, this is saying we just slowly continue to push up. We don't have any major massive blow off tops like we had in the past. If we go all the way into, I'd say April maybe of next year, looking at 138K, maybe even 150K. So who knows? Again, this is just very general. Actually, you know what? If we're talking like we have another bull market, we actually probably would do it off of this band right here. Since all other bull markets, the top, even though it, the top was really, it had a blow off top, and then it kind of barely broke it over here. But say we have a blow off top first, then we do the same kind of retest. That could be all the way in. So look at these again. December could be 160K. April, May could be 171K. Then maybe we have some downside price action. This is all general, like very, say we kind of do, actually that's probably not what happened. We'd kind of range here, go up. That looks awful. Go up, kind of pull down, whatever. They kind of maybe bounce back up and then have a bear market. Then again after that, then we're looking at 76 to 85K as the low. This is all very, very kind of off the cuff. I'm not promising any of this will actually happen. We're just kind of looking at scenarios of where the highs could come in, but just planning for all different situations. Worst case, maybe we see a low of 60K. Best case, who knows? Maybe we never break 100K again if this bull market goes on long enough. But yeah, that's kind of just looking at the monthly time frame. Some things that I'm thinking about. Who knows? If that works out. The other thing that we can maybe look at is like a 10-day time frame. I don't know. I haven't really actually messed with this at all. 10-day time frame does have a bias to the upside, though the last price target was lower and clearly has not gotten hit. So. We'll see if it does get hit, if we do flip consolidation here, and again, kind of base off of this support band, which it has done for the last few iterations. That could be all the way to 93. Maybe it rises up a little bit to 97 to 100K. So yeah, a lot of these indicators are saying if we are still bullish from here, we bottom out around 100 to 95 to 100, and maybe even the best case scenario is 100 and what was that, 111K is the bottom. But 10-day time frame does say long-term price is still looking up to 129, 130K. So a lot of interest around 130K, a lot of interest around 100K, even if we base off like the midline. So yeah, some really interesting stuff. All right, so again, this indicator is coming out very soon. If you are interested in it, check out the link into the description below. You'll find all of the Patreon and all that kind of stuff where you can find and keep track of what's going on, and it will be on the Patreon account when I do release it. Okay, let's look at some strategies. And I want to actually compare a few things, a few strategies, and look at a few just interesting things that I'm finding. One is, so this is the 1 hour strategy that is on our Discord. If you're not a part of that, again, link is in the description below to the Patreon account, and that will give you access to the Discord, to all these indicators and strategies that are at least started for you, and you can take them and build off of them as you will. This strategy is in the Discord. This is just showing the price action since January 1 of 2025, so the last 7 months of price action. You can see the first part of the year, had some small gains. We got up to, a 10% profit here if we're trading, say you're trading inverse perpetual, so you're buying or you're holding Bitcoin as underlying collateral and then trading off of it. There was really a lot of boring price action as far as what this strategy did. You could see here over the first 6-7 months, first half, so that'd be, I guess, 3 or 4 months of the year. Price really, this blue line is actual price action, and this green line up here is what the strategy was doing. So the strategy actually stayed a bit more positive, did not have as bad of pullbacks this year as actual price action did. So that was kind of, if you're trading the strategy, a bit of a nice upside. So even though the strategy is giving negative, you're still staying positive, and you're actually getting a little bit of gains on top of it. And then through the rest of the year, the strategy actually has beaten buy and hold, which is pretty crazy for this year. And again, if you're buying and holding Bitcoin and then trading it on top of it, then you can put these gains on top of what Bitcoin actually does. So that's a pretty nice upside. But yeah, so the year to date is up 33% just trading this, plus what Bitcoin was up. So for my accounts that I am holding Bitcoin and then trading these strategies, up pretty nicely since the beginning of the year. But really, a lot of that was done in the last few months. It says since trade 65. We can kind of look at the list of trades here and find 65. So that was where the big gains came in. That was around April. So yeah, April to current is up really, really nicely. We did see, let's see, go back. I hate the way they changed trading. We changed this. Okay. Yeah, so we're going back to the recent few trades. We did have some major, they're not major losses. They're actually very small losses comparative, but they feel like major losses, especially if you're trading with leverage. We had about a 3.2, 3.3 loss right there. Then we had a second loss right again after 2.7. So that's a good, that'd be about 6% drawdown in the account if you're trading with no leverage. If you're trading with 4 leverage, that's a good 20, what would that'd be 18%. No, 24%. That'd be a 24% drawdown if you're trading with 4x leverage. So kind of feels pretty nasty if you're trading with leverage. But again, if you're up, if you've been trading this for long term, say you're trading 4x leverage, you're up, 120% almost there. And then you have a 20% pull down. So your accounts, if you were trading with 4x leverage since the beginning of the year, your account is still up 100%, which is not bad. But pullbacks do happen, and this, let's reset this. This is not even nearly as bad as it could get. Let's look at. This probably won't be super helpful. I guess it will a little bit, just to kind of get. Again, I'm always coming back to this, so users are well aware of the risks. This is the pullback we just experienced right here, which does, it's a pretty sharp decline, pretty fast. But we've, seen much worse pullbacks in the past where, it went from, I'm just looking at the numbers on the left here. It went from about 505 to 490, at the worst. So that's a good 15, just looking at those numbers, that's a good 15%. Again, at 4x leverage, that would be, 60 some percent. So that's a massive, massive pullback in your account. That's not even the worst one. There's been some other major ones here in the last few years. So, yeah, just looking at price action and what and the strategy and what is possible. Again, make sure you're trading at healthy leverage, whatever you're willing to put on the table and lose. Because again, if you happen to start trading, near some of the pullbacks, you're not going to see very much of a gain in your account before you get those pullbacks. And if you're able to stick with it, it's really about the long term. Over the long period, you can see some massive gains. But this is years of price action, right? So this chart just starts at 2021. over here. And so over the years, there was some major pullbacks just since 2021. And that's just the last 4 years. So yeah, something to keep in mind. I am actually building a few other strategies that I'm interested in, kind of almost as not necessarily hedges, but alternate options or alternate versions of the 1 hour strategy. The reason I'm doing that is because several reasons. One, the 1 hour strategy tends to be trading really well. And I wanted to find a few different variations of it so I can maybe trade 2 different 1 hour strategies that had different pullbacks at different times. Now, the thing to note about this is during bear markets, there's probably always going to be pullbacks. Like there's almost no getting through a bear market unscathed if you're actually trading a strategy. And the hard thing to know is, when does a bear market start? Generally, you don't know a bear market has started until you're halfway through it, or sometimes all the way through it. So, my general philosophy is wait until we've had a bear market for about a year. So it's easy to look back and say, hey, the last year has been, going down in price action. Again, going back to here, it was real easy to know that price action had been going down for a long period by, somewhere over here. Like price action went for about 15 bars, which is 15 months. So that's, a year and 3 months was about the bottom right there. So if you would have started trading a strategy about a year in, say, price has been going down for about a year. And actually, let's even go from this high right here. Price 9 bars, 8 bars had seen the low, 12 bars had seen the actual massive low. So yeah, again, after about a year of saying, hey, we saw our peak a year ago, that was a great place to start trading. And there's a lot of times you can find that in Bitcoin history, where if you go about a year after the peak, that's a pretty great place to start buying or trading strategies. Again, right here, that happened. Even this consolidation, even though I don't really call that a high, but about it was about 12 bars in was where the massive bull run started. Okay, so say for about a year, the strategies haven't been doing well, prices have been going down. That's when I really scale in and do some major trading. And so I'm not a financial advisor at all, but for those users that might be looking for an edge, that don't want to risk a whole lot of capital right now, because again, who knows how far into the bull market we're at. Maybe we're halfway through, maybe we're almost all the way through, maybe we're literally at the end of it right now. It's really easy. It's a lot more easy to spot. I wouldn't say really easy. A lot more easy to spot the end of a bear market than the beginning of a bear market. So what I kind of generally think about trading is, trading any place in here where we've seen price action go up for quite a while. I'm trading at lower leverage, and I'm not risking a whole lot of my equity. If you would have, started trading here, where it would have been low, of course, you would have missed some of these gains, but you would have also missed some of these massive pullbacks here, right? So say you started trading a year in, which is about somewhere over here, there was some massive upside before you saw the first big pullback. So you had a lot of time to get equity in your account before you saw a pullback. And so that pullback, sure, it would have been painful, but if you would have been trading the same amount of equity from the start of it till that, you would have been doing great. So that would have been a really nice place to start. Even here, if you would have waited for some some long months of consolidation and started trading here, again, you got a long runway before you start seeing pullbacks. So for those traders who are just now getting in the game, or maybe don't have a lot of profit in their account yet, it can suck. I totally get it, but at the same time, you got to keep mentally strong and you got to have a plan. So my plan is generally wait for a bit of a 8 months of some downside price action before I really scale in. I'm trading accounts that have been trading for a long time. I'll let them trade through it. I can afford some pullback. But when we do get 8 months to a year of pullback and downside, I'm going to start looking at trading some other strategies here. And this is a second strategy, so it's another 1 hour strategy. It's not quite as good, 25% in the account since the beginning of the year, but it does have a higher profit rate. And let's look at it since reset chart session. So it does have just a different looking equity curve. Now it's not as the equity, the P&L is not as big, but it does have just a very different looking equity curve. And really over the last, it's a major upside since the last, whatever this, I don't know how many months that would be. Let's see, since trade 920. Let's look at the list of trades here. Quite a while ago, since February. So yeah, so while the other strategy, was going sideways until April, this strategy started making some massive gains starting February. So just something else I'm looking at. And then there's one other strategy here that I also am looking at. It's another 1 hour strategy. And, again, much different looking equity curve. Now, there again, during some major downside, you can find places where it did have some pullbacks, probably in the same place. But this one, it's just been a much more slow and steady gain instead of, this one where it had some, a little bit more flat over here, and then a major run up here. This strategy right here has that's actually interesting to see. So the P&L right there is 380. So actually a higher P&L than this strategy, but this strategy did better there. So anyway, some things to watch out for if you are bumper band users. There's going to be a few options to look at. This one also does generally take smaller losses, though it might take more losses, but it has a decent profit factor. It holds trades for a lot shorter, so that's the other thing. Our strategy right here that has just a massive P&L for the past 4 years holds trades for a very, very long time. You can see this one held its trade for, it was a massive win, so that was a good thing, but it held a trade for 190 bars. So I don't know how many days that is in hourly time frame, but a very, very long time. And this one, again, to the upside, it held it a lot longer, and to the downside, it held it a lot longer. And this is about 64 bars, so, it's almost 4 or 5 days at least. So yeah, anyway, some things that are coming your way. A few other things to look at is, what do we got here? Oh yeah, short strategy. Yeah, I was going to look at, oh no, this was the long strategy. And do I have the short strategy open? I don't know if I actually opened that. There's a 30-minute short strategy that's been doing okay recently. It doesn't trade that often. I was looking at the 30 minutes since January. So 30 minutes since January, this is just one of them. This is actually not the best one. You can see that this one actually has been pretty boring, and I would say, if you were trading back here, it was definitely worth it, but it's had a lot of sideways. So the 30-minute strategy is definitely not doing as well as the 1 hour strategy right now, just based on the price movements. And this is why I have strategies on different time frames, because they will take advantage of different kind of price action. The 1 hour has done a great job of taking advantage of the price action in the past few months, while the 30-minute has struggled a lot. And I've been trading multiple accounts of the 30-minute strategy, and a lot of them have been going sideways. For those of you who have been following a long time, there is what I call the 10K challenge or something like that, where I had 10K in an account, and that's been trading a Bitcoin strategy for a very long time. And I think the last 6 months, it's basically been going sideways. Had some major gains. It's a different strategy. I think it's a different version of the 30-minute, and that version is on the Discord. But it had a major run up here recently. I don't remember where it was over the past few days, and then it took a hit just like this one did, and so it's kind of back into that range again, where it's definitely been profitable. I think it's up 20 or 30% at least. I gave away a bunch of money and then put some money in a side account to hold it for downside markets, but it's really been sitting sideways for a long time. And so if you're trading it, it's a little discouraging, but it takes trading for the long term, and kind of that mindset. So I'll update you guys more if and when that strategy finally starts taking off, but it's been some really, really boring price history. Okay, looking at a couple other ones, just kind of comparing since January. This is the 12 hour, again, since January, up 20%, very low drawdown, so that's nice. Percent profitable, just a little bit over half, but a very nice profit factor there. So for users that are looking for a higher profit factor, and maybe, kind of same thing, you can hold Bitcoin as collateral, or maybe you want to trade a spot account or something like that. This strategy is out there, as well as a one-day strategy, which is just really, really incredible. I don't have that pulled up right now, but I think that's probably one of the better strategies I've made. So pretty cool stuff. That's the 12-hour, and then the 4-hour strategy. This is one that I have been trading as well since January. This one has seen some massive drawdowns and is, it's not super impressive. It's only up 7%, and it's, pulled back just as bad as Bitcoin has. We'll see. I'm probably going to make an AI version of this 4-hour strategy. You can see over here, just had a pretty big loss and is in another losing trade right now. We're at just about 112K. The stop loss is 111K. So if it does go down and like we were looking at the other time frames on the ribbon indicator, if it does go down, might be a second loss here. We did see the last few trades though were winners, and it has some nice profit in the account, but this strategy is not being overly impressive right now. So for anyone trading a 4-hour strategy, yeah, it is what it is. It's not super exciting. This year has really been kind of abysmal for strategies and some major drawdowns. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where it goes. Again, I'll probably do a new version of the 4-hour strategy as I slowly update all of my strategies and indicators to using machine learning and these AI stuff. So, all right, I think we'll leave it off there. Again, kind of just checking back in on this 4-hour. Let's go back to the 4-hour here and kind of look at where price action is as we're wrapping up the video, because we're basically making new lows right now. Yeah, very interesting to see. Again, that 111, which is right where that stop loss is for the 12-hour, is the low for the 4-hour. And maybe even go lower. Let's see on the 4-hour how often do we hit this lower band. I guess only on major drop-offs do we hit that lower band. The last time it did it was in June 25, this June. Before that was did the very beginning of June. So June saw a couple of major pullbacks. So I guess worst case scenario, for the 4-hour time frame, maybe it's down to 109K before it bounces, and it obviously can come lower. You can see here it hit that lower band, had a really nice bounce, and then slowly made its way lower. This was earlier in June. So maybe we see something like that where it does that, maybe has a bounce off of 109K if it respects this, or maybe the band pulls lower. Again, another thing I like looking at is, how much lower does price action go between when it hits the first support and the second or third support. So kind of go back over here, and this one was a pretty major drop off. This one is maybe a little bit more accurate. So it hit the first support and the first lower ribbon 3 for support was at 105K. So by the time it hit the ribbon the second time and actually made the low off of it, it was 103K. So that was a few percent. It's about 3% lower when it made an actual low. There are times, it can close below it and then slowly grind down. There's a lot of different scenarios, so it's kind of hard to project very well. But, so say worst case again for this, we go with the 3% lower. That's 105K. So we're kind of looking at, again, 105K possibly as a low. If it does something like that here, 105K as a low, maybe then it bounces up and then kind of comes even lower later on. Maybe that's the 100K. I don't know. There's a lot of different options here. I'm not really trading any longs right now. I have a few long entries in around actually some of these levels. I think on the daily, go back to the daily and look at the levels. I do have some longs kind of, and I'm going to close my short. I have a short that I started back in this area, but I'll probably I forget where I had the longs. I think they were kind of based on these bands back here, maybe around 100K. I had 105K, a few around 95, 98K, just in case we wick lower. That's just kind of how I'm playing it. This is not financial advice at all. If you follow me, you eventually get wrecked, I'm sure, because I'm not always updating on what exactly I'm doing. I'm just kind of throwing out general things, and there's times I close longs based on price action or close shorts or whatever. So don't follow what I'm doing. I'm just kind of letting you know my general bias right now and general thoughts. Okay, this video has gotten real long. Hope you guys have enjoyed it and it's in some way useful. If you found it useful, please like, please subscribe, stay tuned for more videos, and as always, stay safe, and I'll see you guys next time.